Have you ever wondered how many times Jack Bauer has cheated death? Or why a government agent's worst days always last exactly 24 hours? The TV series 24 revolutionized television with its real-time format, split screens, and a hero who would do absolutely anything to save his country. But with 8 seasons spanning nearly a decade, that's 192 hours of conspiracy, betrayal, and torture to keep track of. Today, I'm going to break down every season of 24 in under 24 minutes. From presidential assassinations to nuclear threats, this is Jack Bauer's entire journey explained. The clock starts now. Season 1. Season 1 introduces us to Jack Bauer, the head of CTU Los Angeles. That's counter-terrorist unit for the uninitiated. Jack's having a pretty rough day, even by his standards. Senator David Palmer, the first black presidential candidate with a real shot at the White House, is the target of an assassination plot. Meanwhile, Jack's rebellious teenage daughter Kim sneaks out with her friend Janet and gets kidnapped. Oh, and Jack's marriage to Terry is already on the rocks after a recent separation. As Jack investigates the assassination plot, he discovers there's a mole inside CTU feeding information to the Drazen family, Serbian warlords with a vendetta against both Jack and Palmer. Jack had led a mission to kill Victor Drazen 2 years earlier. But surprise, Victor's actually alive and orchestrating everything. The day spirals with Jack being forced to break protocol repeatedly, including staging a prison break and taking a US senator hostage. Classic Jack Bauer Tuesday. By the end of the day, Jack manages to save Palmer and kill Victor Drazen in a shootout, but the victory is short-lived. In the season's gut punch finale, Jack discovers his trusted colleague Nina Myers was the mole all along, and she's murdered his wife, Terry. Season 1 established the show's brutal willingness to kill major characters and set up Jack's tragic hero arc. It also gave us the first of many times Jack would say his catchphrase. Fun fact, Jack says, "Dammit," 12 times in Season 1. Trust me, we're keeping count. Season 2. Season 2 picks up 18 months later. Jack's a broken man, still grieving Terry's death, sporting a depression beard and no longer working at CTU. But when President Palmer, yes, he won the election, learns terrorists plan to detonate a nuclear bomb in Los Angeles, he personally asks Jack to return. The ticking clock this season is literally a nuclear bomb. Subtle? This show is not. The terrorist plot is led by a group called Second Wave, with connections to 3 Middle Eastern countries. Jack infiltrates the group and discovers the bomb's location, but there's no time to defuse it. In one of the show's most iconic moments, Jack flies the bomb into the Mojave Desert where it detonates safely away from the city. Don't worry about the radiation. In the world of 24, nuclear fallout is more of a suggestion than a scientific fact. But the real conspiracy involves a recording that falsely implicates those 3 countries in the attack. A group of American oil executives and military contractors want to trigger a war for profit. Tale as old as time. Jack and President Palmer work to expose the conspiracy, but Palmer is removed from office when he refuses to launch retaliatory strikes. By day's end, Palmer is reinstated but then poisoned at a campaign event, while Jack is left tortured and heartbroken after being forced to fake the death of his new love interest, Kate Warner. Season 2 upped the stakes to global proportions and established the show's formula. The initial threat is never the real threat. There's always a bigger conspiracy, and Jack will definitely get tortured at some point. Dammit count for Season 2. 19. He's getting angrier. Season 3. Season 3 jumps ahead 3 years. Jack's now battling a heroin addiction after going undercover with the Salazar drug cartel in Mexico. Yes, he got addicted to heroin for America. That's commitment. The threat this time is a deadly biological weapon called the Cordilla virus. A rogue MI6 agent named Stephen Saunders, who was thought dead in the same operation where Jack killed Victor Drazen, is threatening to release the virus unless his demands are met. This season introduces Jack's new partner, Chase Edmonds, who's secretly dating Jack's daughter, Kim. because apparently CTU has no HR department or anti-nepotism policies. Kim now works at CTU as a systems analyst, which is quite the career jump for someone whose only skill in Season 1 was getting kidnapped. Season 3 features one of the show's most shocking moments when Saunders forces President Palmer to order Jack to execute CTU Regional Director Ryan Chappelle. Jack complies, shooting his boss in the head to prevent the virus from being released. Nina Myers returns this season, only to be killed by Jack in a moment of vengeance. Meanwhile, Tony Almeida, now CTU director, commits treason to save his wife Michelle from the virus, landing him in prison. The day ends with Chase handcuffed to the last virus canister, forcing Jack to chop off Chase's hand with an axe to remove it. Don't worry, they reattach it off-screen. Jack decides to quit CTU for a more normal life, which lasts approximately 0 seasons. Dammit count, 15. He's pacing himself. Season 4. Season 4 begins 18 months later. Jack now works for the Department of Defense under Secretary James Heller and is dating Heller's daughter, Audrey. Because Jack apparently can't meet women outside of national security crises, the season kicks off with terrorists kidnapping Secretary Heller and Audrey. Jack returns to CTU to help with the rescue, working with new director Aaron Driscoll, who fired Jack for his heroin addiction. Awkward. The mastermind behind the day's attacks is Habib Marwan, who orchestrates a series of escalating terrorist strikes. From kidnapping the Secretary of Defense, to melting down nuclear power plants, to shooting down Air Force One with the president aboard. This season introduces us to President Charles Logan, who takes over after President Keeler is critically injured in the crash. Logan is indecisive and easily manipulated, basically the anti-Palmer. Jack's methods become increasingly brutal this season. He shoots a suspect's wife in the leg during an interrogation and stages a fake execution. He also raids the Chinese consulate, accidentally causing the death of the Chinese consul and creating an international incident. By day's end, Jack has stopped all the attacks, but the Chinese want him for the consulate raid. To avoid an international crisis, President Logan agrees to hand Jack over. With help from Tony, Michelle, Chloe, and President Palmer, Jack fakes his death and disappears. Dammit count, 21. The man's getting frustrated. Season 5. Season 5 opens 18 months later with the most shocking sequence in the series. Former President David Palmer is assassinated in his brother's apartment. Then, Michelle Dessler is killed by a car bomb, and Tony Almeida is left critically injured. Finally, Chloe O'Brien narrowly escapes an attempt on her life. Jack, now living under the alias Frank Flynn and working on an oil rig, watches Palmer's assassination on TV and realizes he's being framed. All the targets were the people who helped him fake his death. Jack returns to LA and discovers a conspiracy involving Russian separatists and nerve gas. But the real shocker is that President Logan himself is behind everything, working with Christopher Henderson, Jack's former mentor, and Russian separatist Vladimir Bierko. This season features Jack at his most ruthless. He tortures his former mentor Henderson multiple times, shoots a witness in the leg during interrogation, and threatens to kill a suspect's family. But the most brutal moment comes when Jack discovers his girlfriend Audrey was tortured by the Chinese while looking for him. In the season finale, Jack manages to get a recording of President Logan admitting his involvement in Palmer's assassination. Logan is arrested after leaving his wife's funeral, but Jack's victory is short-lived. The Chinese have tracked him down, and in the final moments, Jack is captured and loaded onto a freighter bound for China. Season 5 is widely considered the show's best, winning the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series. It's also the bloodiest, with a body count of 38 named characters. Dammit count, 25. Jack's really going through it. Season 6. Season 6 begins 20 months after Jack's capture. He's been tortured in a Chinese prison and is released only because America faces a new threat: suitcase nuclear bombs. Jack looks like he's been through hell, with long hair and scars all over his body. The main villain is Abu Fayed, who has smuggled 5 suitcase nukes into the country. In the first 4 hours, one of these bombs detonates in Valencia, California, killing over 12,000 people. Again, radiation is merely a suggestion in the 24 universe. This season takes a deep dive into Jack's family. We meet his father Philip and brother Graham, who are revealed to be involved in the day's events. In a shocking twist, Jack essentially tortures his own brother to death during an interrogation. Thanksgiving must be awkward at the Bauer house. The season also reveals that Audrey Raines went looking for Jack in China and was captured. She's returned in a catatonic state, having been tortured by the Chinese. Jack is forced to let her go at the end of the day, in one of the series' most heartbreaking moments. Season 6 is generally considered the weakest of the series, with a convoluted plot involving Jack's family, Russian conspirators, and Chinese agents. The season ends with Jack standing on a cliff, contemplating his future after losing everything. Dammit count 18. He's too sad to be angry. Season 7. Season 7 picks up 4 years later. CTU has been disbanded, and Jack is in Washington, D.C., facing a Senate investigation for his interrogation methods, because apparently someone finally noticed all the torture. The hearing is interrupted when FBI agent Renee Walker brings news that national security is at risk. The threat comes from Sangalan warlord General Juma and former CTU agent Tony Almeida, who's apparently not dead after all. Plot twist. This season moves the action to Washington, D.C., and introduces President Allison Taylor, the series' first female president. The White House itself comes under attack when General Juma and his men take the president hostage. Jack, naturally, infiltrates the White House to save her. Tony's apparent villainy is revealed to be a deep cover operation. He's actually working to expose a conspiracy led by Jonas Hodges, head of private military company Starkwood, who has acquired a bioweapon. In the season's final hours, Jack is exposed to the bioweapon and begins dying. His daughter Kim returns to provide stem cells for an experimental treatment. The day ends with Jack in a coma, his fate uncertain. Season 7 was delayed by the 2007 to 2008 Writers Guild of America strike and marked the show's move from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., both in setting and production. Dammit count 22. He's back in form. Season 8. The final season begins 18 months later. Jack is healthy again and planning to move to Los Angeles with Kim and his granddaughter, who is named Terry after Jack's late wife. But before he can leave, he's drawn into a plot to assassinate President Omar Hassan of the fictional Islamic Republic of Kamistan during peace negotiations. CTU is back, now in New York, with Chloe eventually becoming its acting director. Jack works with agent Renee Walker, who's now more like Jack than Jack, reckless and willing to cross lines. They rekindle their relationship, only for Renee to be assassinated by a Russian sniper. Her death sends Jack on a roaring rampage of revenge against the Russian government, which was behind the day's events. In the final hours, Jack goes completely off the reservation, assassinating Russian diplomats and nearly starting an international war. The series ends with Jack as a fugitive, wanted by both American and Russian authorities. In the final scene, he says goodbye to Chloe, his most loyal friend throughout the series, before disappearing. The show would return years later with 24 Live Another Day and 24 Legacy. But Season 8 marks the end of Jack's original journey. From CTU agent to international fugitive, Jack Bauer sacrificed everything for his country, only to be disavowed by the very institutions he protected. Final Dammit count 24. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Over 8 seasons, Jack Bauer saved the country from nuclear bombs, biological weapons, and corrupt presidents. He lost his wife, countless colleagues, and eventually his freedom. The series revolutionized television with its real-time format and unflinching portrayal of the war on terror. If there's one lesson from 24, it's that freedom comes at a cost, and sometimes that cost is paid by men like Jack Bauer, who do the unthinkable so that we can sleep safely at night. If you enjoyed this explanation of 24, hit subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite shows. And let me know in the comments what show you want me to cover next.